Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and today we're looking at a new product. Now, this is an AK optics mounting rail made by a Polish company called KGM, and it was specifically developed for Ukraine, in fact. It was specifically developed to have a way to take basically any existing Kalashnikov pattern rifle and fit a Picatinny mount to it, something that could fit modern optics, both red dots, magnified optics, lasers, and anything else that you want to attach to the sides. But the idea was it has to be universal, it has to be relatively lightweight, and it has to be compatible with everything else that's necessary for a modern combat rifle. So they gave me this one, by the way, at IWA a couple months ago. It's taken me quite some time to get out to the range here with it. But I was at first pretty skeptical because this mounts to the gas tube of the gun and then essentially uses the rear sight block as a locking surface, which is, that's an interesting style, and I was dubious. But mounting it on this rifle actually seems pretty stable. So we've got it zeroed. I'm gonna go ahead and put a group on target. I've got a paper target at 50 yards. And then we'll take it apart, show you how it works, do another group, see if assembly and reassembly is actually going to hold zero, and we'll perhaps abuse it a little bit. I did mention, well, let's just get into some shooting. This is, by the way, a 5.45 Century build. It's outfitted with German furniture, East German furniture, but it's not actually an East German gun. I would say this is reasonably well enough zeroed. So that's our starting point. I'm going to leave all those hits untaped, and as we continue to shoot, we'll see if we can hold the same sort of group or if we start to lose zero. Okay, now this is a little bit of a high mount. As you can see, I'm using a bit of a chin weld here to get a sight through the red dot, but that's there specifically so that you have enough clearance to disassemble the rifle. So the mount doesn't interfere with that. For basic cleaning, field stripping, you don't have to take it off. But let's say you do want to take it off. You can reach down here, lift up our disassembly lever, and then this comes off. Like I said, this mounts to the gas tube. We have, this is aluminum. This is 7075 aluminum. These bottom clamps are steel. They're held in place by a total of 12 socket head screws. So again, this made me a little skeptical. Like, that's a lot of screws. You would definitely want to make sure these have thread locker on them and they're not going to move around. But what makes this interesting is even if you have a relatively loose fitting gas tube, we have these two surfaces right here. And I think if we look at it from this angle, you can see that they're slightly angled on the bottom, slightly beveled. And they are actually locking around or clamping around the rear sight block. So you can see a little bit of finish wear right there. That's where, and definitely over here, that's where this has scraped down on the side of the front of the rear sight block. And that's what holds it in position. So like the gas tube is your first and second points of contact. And then when I clamp that down, when I push it down, that gives us a third point of contact, and this really does feel pretty darn stable. So let's take this off one more time. Now, put it on. There we go. Clamp it in. Lock it back in place. Reassemble the gun, and let's see if it actually holds zero. Okay, I would say that definitely held it zero there. That's not too shabby. Awesome. I'm starting to like this more and more. Like I said, I was pretty skeptical about this. That's part of why it took me so long to actually bring it out to the range. But let's abuse it a little bit. All right, so we're empty here. By the way, I mentioned earlier on the importance of compatibility. This is completely compatible with all the standard AK pattern underbarrel grenade launchers, GP25s, GP30s, all that sort of thing. It has no impact on the lower handguard. So if you have, this is something obviously not really applicable for the civilian market in the US, but if you are perhaps a Ukrainian MOD guy and you're looking to equip red dot sights onto a gun that happens to have a grenade launcher on it, this will work, unlike a lot of the rail options that require removing the bottom handguard to clamp around the barrel. Now, KGM says that they've done drop testing on this, so I figure that's something worth trying. They talked about 2-meter drop test, which is about as tall as I am. I'm poking some holes with my, ooh, there we go. That time it bounced off the optic. We appear to have reseated either the mount or messed up the optic. The Holosun, basic Holosun 430 or 403. All right, the question is this the optic or is it the mount? And I don't know, I can hear it here. I don't know if you can hear it or see it, but there is definitely play in the mount. So I didn't feel any of that before we mounted it. I don't know if I just wasn't looking hard enough for it. Our locking lever here on the front sight block is still fully in place. So like the tension on the gas tube is the same as it originally was. This, I think, is the issue you're going to get if you don't have a really tight gas tube. You have the potential for movement here. I don't have any movement in the left to right, and you can see that from the target because this clamping mechanism around the rear sight block does a good job of stabilizing the thing left to right. But up and down, it doesn't have a reference point. It's not bottomed out on anything. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do another group after deliberately bottoming this thing out manually. Let's see if that brings it back to its original 0. I feel like it's bouncing up in between shots just a tiny bit. All right, that did not fix anything. I still have a pretty decent group down here, especially if you consider that I fired, I think, 2 rounds and then started readjusting the mount. But that's a bummer. I had high hopes for this. If you treat it nicely, if you don't drop it, it will, so in between traumatic episodes, it will definitely hold 0. It has some other cool features. You can actually use the iron sights underneath it. And if you look up close here, it comes with its own very gross iron sights on the rail itself. But I can actually use the standard iron sights underneath, which is kind of nice. If you had a significant problem with the rail, your iron sights underneath remain zeroed, but bummer. A few hours later, so I messaged the guys from KGM about the issue we had, and I'm like, you know, do you really want me to publish this video? And they said, oh, all you have to do to fix that is take the rail and gas tube assembly off and put it back on, and it will essentially reset the 0. It's a temporary thing that just gets, you know, bumped out of place by being dropped. So that's, I mean, it's not great that it loses 0 if you drop it on the optic, but if it can be reversed, well, that's a good thing. So we're going to give that a try. There we go. All right, so we take this off. We reset it back on. There we go. It's all the way down. Reassemble. And let's see if it works. Now, by the way, in between our last shooting and now, because we thought we were done, we did a bunch of other shooting. I shot up that one target, and it was actually my last big bullseye target. So I've got a new paper out there It's got 6 holes on it. You'll see which one I've indicated that I'm shooting at. I haven't changed the 0 here. So in theory, if this works, we'll be right in the center of that one small bullseye. Bummer. That does not fix the issue. So of course I was aiming here. Our original 0 would have hit here. Having been bumped off of 0, we're now still low even with removing and reinstalling the rail. So
exactly the same.
Yeah. Yep. Didn't fix the issue. Unfortunately, I was really hoping it would. I wasn't sure exactly why it would, but I really wanted to give KGM a chance. And frankly, the rest of the product really did seem better than I was anticipating. So there's, I suppose, at least for me here, there's your downside. This works unless it gets dropped. A good impact to the optic will require that you re-zero it. Is that a crazy requirement? I suppose maybe not. Depends how much you expect to drop the rifle or how much time you expect to have to re-zero the rifle if you do drop it. But there you go. This is 265 euros. That's going to put it a little under $300 probably. It is light. This, by the way, this comes in at 220 grams more than the stock rifle. So the rail itself is 10 ounces, but it's replacing about 2 ounces of upper handguard. So your net weight gain is about 8 ounces, 220 grams. It does offer a lot of rail. You got the dropped rail here for a laser optic. They have lots of video of these with magnified optics as well as just red dots. You set something here and you can cantilever it back far enough to use a regular, something like an LPVO. But that's it. I was hoping it would be a little more durable, but there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.